forever or, yeah. So, but they've done
She
it.
married me and we were in church. So we were like that.
I read it.
It's cheap. These are minutes from,
I know my nephew was taking the 4 figures a month. And, got it down to school. Yeah, it was a test with this. Why did this be so?
After Johnny worked at CBS, and then went to Steve and New Princeton. But we get the boxes, you can't fix my old one, they're all
Joyce, you want to print it?
Can you ready for it?
You want it, you can have it. Brand new.
Why?
Don't ask questions. Fall off the truck.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Executive Board, March 31st, 2023 is now in process. I'm going to call the committee first. If you're here, please say yes. Peter Romano.
Here.
Diane Alderman. Kate Benoit. Mike Bunk.
Here.
Marilyn Curtis. Maureen Debeguer.
Here.
Ruth Reese.
Here.
David Furness.
Here.
George Franklin. Dan Gladstone.
Yes.
Laura Hanley. Jackie Garland. Bobby Levin.
Here.
Joyce Reese.
Yes.
Flora Simpson.
Here.
Jeffrey Skeen. Jerry Sadowski.
Here.
Gloria Tart.
Here.
Mary Walsh. Please call the officers.
Ed Grossman,
Here.
Dominic Carnaccio,
Here.
Stuart is absent, David is absent, Fausto,
Here.
Patricia,
Not all here, but I'm present.
I am likewise. There are 5 officers.
Okay, we have a quorum. At this time, I would like to have David Furness please come up to the front. We have 2 people that were not at the installation of officers. So at this time, I need to, as a duly elected person in charge, notary, whatever you want to call it, I'm going to bring you up to date. You have been elected in accordance to the bylaws of the United Civic Organization to its 20-member executive board. It will be your duty to work with the president and other elected officers and the membership to advance the goals of UCO and faithfully perform the duties of your office as prescribed by the bylaws. Are you prepared to take the oath of UCO Executive Board member?
I am.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly promise
I do solemnly promise
and pledge
and pledge
that I will discharge the duties of my office to the best of my knowledge and ability.
to discharge the duties of my office to the best of my ability.
Thank you. You're officially installed. Okay. I'm going to ask, we're going to start with my right, your left. Please stand up, give us your name, and we'll go down the road so everybody knows who you are.
Good morning, my name is Flora Simpson. Yeah. Good morning, my name is Maureen Debeguer.
Good morning, Ruth Reese, editor of the UCO Reporter.
Yay.
Yay. I'll take some of her applause. Bobby Levin.
Yay. Diane Andelman.
Yay.
Oh, this is Peter Romano, Wellington G.
Gloria Todd, I work at UCO.
Newly elected to the board.
The transportation.
No, you, like,
To the
this board.
executive board. Joyce,
I'm here, but
don't
everyone
stand
knows,
up, tell them who you are.
everyone knows who
are.
I am. I have the biggest mouth in the place.
You said
Joyce
it.
Reese, I'm here.
Mike, you're on.
Kelly Jansen. Okay, Mike Bunk, Bedford H.
Dan Gladstone can be Jeff.
Doesn't
Yeah, you're on the board.
matter. Who cares?
Come on.
David Boas. Dave Fornes, Dover C.
Jerry Satowski, Wellington E.
Okay. Most of those were board members, two were guests. So, did everybody go over the minutes as you were handed out? Are there any corrections or amendments to the minutes as presented? Good. I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
So moved.
I second.
Joyce Lee, seconded
I second.
by Bobby Levin. Okay, on to the order of business. We've installed we still have 4 people that were elected, 2 are in the hospital. They will be installed when they return. We will start off with officers' reports. Dominic?
I don't have much to report.
Why not?
What have we got? The people are returning back to Canada.
Down, down.
Little by little.
No.
Okay, thank you. Tricia?
Good morning. As most of you know, I was away for a couple of weeks. I had company, I was out, so I'm catching up to my emails and everything. I'm looking for more volunteers to come on to the Transportation Committee. So if anyone's interested, please come to the UCO office because you have to fill out the volunteers form. As far as that, I'm not aware of anything that's new in the village that anyone doesn't know since I've been away for several weeks. And thank you all for coming. That's it.
Thank you. I'm going to forego the president's report for Ed. Ed, you're up.
Good morning, everybody. I'm glad to see you all here, and congratulations to the new people who have been installed, and I hope the people who are not well will get well soon. I want to wish all of you who are of the Jewish persuasion and the others to have a very happy and healthy Passover. And I also want to announce that Jerry Sadowski is inviting everybody to a Seder at the new Jewish kosher restaurant. And he's covering the whole course.
But it's in Lawrence, so he's got to get on a plane.
Well, the plane is okay if he went to New York, Central Synagogue. Anyway, on a very brief report and on another matter, I want to congratulate again Donald, who very quickly helped in a very bad situation, which happened yesterday at Wellington A, where someone had installed windows without a permit and several of the other unit holders. It became a real harassment, but it's now taken care of, and our mobile security force, after I called Donald, was there very quickly, and the matter has been taken care of. The thing that I have to report on is that at the last delegated assembly, I stated that I didn't bring forward a treasurer's report because it was incorrect, and that at this delegate assembly, I would be bringing 2 reports, one for February and one for March. Quite frankly, it has not moved forward as quickly as it can for the lack of understanding of how you prepare a short period report, but we still have a few days, and hopefully by that time it will be prepared. Other than that, we're not bankrupt yet. Could happen, but it's not. So rest easy. Thank you.
Do we have any old business that anybody would like to bring up? Any old business? Great. We have one point of new business. After last month's meeting, our corresponding secretary, Bob Rivera, has officially resigned. He's turned in his papers We've notified Sunbiz, he is no longer an officer of UCO. The officers got together, we searched for someone that could come and fill that position, and David Boaz's name came up, that he was more than qualified for his position as vice president and what he continues to do on a day-to-day basis for UCO. And they have brought forth his name to fill the balance of Bob's term, which is 1 year. It is up to the executive board to either confirm or deny this, and it will be brought up, whether it passes or fails, it will go to the delegates next week. So I would like for someone here to make a motion to accept David Furness, seconded by Gloria Tart.
I make that motion.
It was made already.
It was made. Double seconded. David, do you want to campaign or at all? You want to say anything?
No.
Few words, but lots of action. Love it. All right. Ms. Secretary, whenever you're done, could you please take a roll call vote? Did you get that, Gloria? Your pen fell apart? Gloria made the motion, right?
No.
No, I'm sorry, who made the motion?
I did.
Oh, David Furness made the motion, and it was seconded by Gloria, and thirded by Ruth Dries.
Okay, David Furness wrote a motion to accept
David Boaz.
David Boaz as corresponding secretary to fill the vacant position left by Bob Rivera's
Unexpired term.
unexpired term, exactly.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I make a motion that we have.
There's a motion on the floor.
Motion on the floor.
There's a motion on the floor, that's what we're doing.
I'm not saying rather than one at a time.
Are you speaking out in support of the motion, Ed? Is that what you're
Yes.
saying?
I want a roll call vote. Only for parliamentary procedure, in case somebody questions how was it voted. I can actually have a piece of paper that says who voted correct. Yes, Dan?
Is the word accepted should be maybe instead of appointment? He has to be appointed.
Well, the delegate assembly will appoint them once they vote. We're just moving it forward to the delegate assembly for a vote. Okay, Joanne, I'm sorry.
Okay, Peter Amato,
It's either yes or no.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Diane Andelman, Mike Funk,
Yes.
Marilyn Curtis. Maureen Debeguer,
Yes.
Ruth Dries,
Twice, yes.
David Furness,
Yes.
Dan Gladstone,
Yes.
Bobby Levin,
Yes.
Joyce Reese.
Yes.
Flora Simpson,
Yes.
Jerry Sutowski.
Yes.
Gloria Tart,
Yes. Not here.
Ed Grossman,
Yes.
Dominic Granaccia,
Yes.
Fausto Fabro,
Yes.
Patricia Caputo,
Yes.
Joanne Robinson votes yes, and it's a unanimous yes.
Thank you, David.
Stand up and take a bow.
All right.
Thank you.
Do we have any other new business that needs to be discussed before we go to our CAM report? Okay. I'm going to save myself for last. I'm going to give you the opportunity to speak. So
Thanks.
everybody knows Donald?
No.
No.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
If you don't know me, you'll know me eventually. Do something wrong. All right, quick list. Most of you know that last month, an occupant from Hastings High decided he didn't want to show his ID card to get into the village anymore, so he tore off our gate arm with his bare hands. He also threatened our guards and used some really vile hate speech. This was reported to PBSO and State Attorney's Office by me. That, I hesitate to say person, was arrested the day before yesterday on a felony charge. He bonded out. He almost certainly will plead down to a misdemeanor, having no prior convictions, but he spent a day and a night in jail, which I'm not unhappy about, and we will be seeking restitution for the damage that he caused, which is in excess of $1,000. Next thing is, this week there's been tree trimming all over the village, yucca trees and palms, but also the residences, and I believe WPRF is next. It's okay. I think most of the residences have been done. They've been trimmed. Yucca trees and palms have about 2 more days of work next week. I just finished the punch list with the manager. So we're in good shape for hurricane season. Last week you may have noticed that we replaced some deteriorated fencing along the south side of Century Boulevard. That looks pretty nice. This week, Shenandoah Construction began dredging of the South Lagoon. This is the canal that connects the southern edge of Century Village, our waterways, with Lake Worth Drainage District waterways. I was concerned about this waterway for some time because I call it, well, Dominic used to call it, the plug to our bathtub. And it had filled in over the years, and last year when we had a really bad drought, trees started growing out of it. So it was basically it was a problem. If we had had a major storm, we may have had a problem with flooding. I'm happy to tell you that that canal is now completely dredged out. We're in very good shape for drainage if we get a major hurricane this year. Next thing, you'll be seeing Atlantic Southern Paving back on the property next week to do repairs on roadways. This is mostly in secondary roads, and this is in preparation for the next project, which will be striping and repainting of stop bars on the secondary roads. So we're making some progress in that regard. Last thing on my list is Reflection Bay update. Fausto, you want to take that as part of your... All right, good. I'll let Fausto take that one. All right, that's all I got, guys, unless you got anything for me.
Just have a question.
Well, let's ladies first.
Are they also dredging the weir now?
The dredging is from the main weir
Oh, it's Maine.
south to Okeechobee Boulevard. It's between the fire station and the car wash, and it's pretty well dredged at this point. They're about done. I'd say they might finish up today.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
The individual that broke the gate, is he still living on the premises?
He's living on the president. Yes, he is an occupant. He is a domestic partner of a unit owner. So there's very little we can do that way by asking them not to. There is no lease involved. So he's been a boil on my behind for some time. He's always given me some trouble or another. So I was not unhappy to see this fellow spend a day and a night in jail. Plus, if you want to say bad words about black people, let's spend a couple of days in jail and see how you like that. I really felt badly because I get to watch all this on video, and you could just see that he hurt those women. So anything we can do to get a little pound of flesh out of this guy, I'm not unhappy with. And he's not a unit owner, so I'm not beholden to him.
So why would they renew his lease or renew his...
He doesn't have a lease, sir. He's essentially a common law spouse of a unit owner. There is no lease. He's just a guy that lives with a girl who owns a unit.
He's the occupant, not
I thought that they had to...
Well, Mr. Romano, did you have any more questions tonight?
Don't they get an annual renewal
Yes.
by the unit owner?
Yes, and that would be renewed by, initially it would be renewed by the condominium board, but, and if this ever happens to you, you're gonna find that throwing out essentially a spouse of a unit owner is not an easy thing to do. You're gonna need a lawyer for that. All right, he's not just a tenant that you could say, we're not renewing your lease, you're an asshole, off you go. This is his wife, essentially. Marilyn, you have a question? I'll get Jerry in a minute. Marilyn, you done?
Yeah, I was about the annual, and I thought there was some reports that an the association had in the event of just exactly that. Do you think there's anything in the background that was missed when it was accepted?
I have no information on that, nor would I share it in a meeting if I did.
Yeah.
Jerry, I'm sorry, keep
Yeah,
going.
any update on the medical building? I thought I saw surveyors there this week, so that's.
Yes, WGI was doing elevations in the area, and I did get word from the owner that they're proceeding with the enclosed outdoor swimming pool. So it's connected with that. Hi Flora.
Okay, maybe I misunderstand. What do you mean when you say, if you want to say bad words about?
Flora, speak
This
up.
this person, this really horrendous person, used some very vile hate speech towards our African American security guards, female security guards. It was really bad, Flora. You really hurt their feelings, and those girls hear everything. So part of this charge that I was the complainant was they were trying to get hate speech attached to the felony vandalism charge, willful destruction of property. Unfortunately, the state attorney was not able to get it to rise to the level that those hate speech charges could be added in. I really wanted that to happen because that would have automatically moved it a click up the felony scale to a more serious felony. And then it would be difficult for him to plead down to it would be another felony. But unfortunately, it's a class 3 felony as it stands. He almost certainly will plead down to a misdemeanor. So this is not a friend of ours.
If the woman, if the female owns the unit. and he
No.
doesn't-
Yes, the female owns the unit. This, by law, this is essentially her husband. They're not married, but they're domestic partners.
Right.
And well, let's just do a scenario. Let's say I don't know, but Maureen met a fella, and I can make it Ruth. You know, Ruth's been married a couple of times, and decided to move him in and make him a domestic partner without being married. It would be very difficult legally to dislodge that occupant. You know, this is not the same as just not renewing the lease of a. There is no lease.
There'd be
You know.
no problem, I'd throw him out myself.
I have no doubt of that, but if you didn't, and you liked him for some reason, I can't imagine why this woman likes this man, and I don't care who knows about it. It's a tough thing, and it's really up to the association to do, and that's kind of a business decision on their part, whether they want to move to have him removed, ejected. So we do what we can do, they do what they can do. Believe me, they're not happy with this fellow either. He's an embarrassment to them. Anything else, guys? Okay, thank you.
I have a quick question.
Yeah, sure.
There was a mobile home kind of parked, and I sent you the pictures last week.
Yeah, that was a mistake by the security team. Nothing over 40 feet is supposed to get through those gates unless I okay it. There are some times when we have to, when they're having material delivered or something of that nature. But this one snuck through mostly because the unit owner was in the vehicle and basically talked his way in. When I investigated it myself, I found that there was something of a hardship situation going on there, an illness in the family. So they asked for 48 hours, and they were good to their word. They got it out of there. So as much as possible, we try to keep those big things out of the village, but occasionally they sneak through.
Well, it was there Thursday afternoon, and I kind of waited, a couple of days.
Yeah.
I sent you the email, and then it moved to what, Sunday or Monday, Sunday?
Well, actually, the owner of the vehicle is the daughter of the president of the association. So I spoke directly to the president. He apologized. He asked for some forbearance, and frankly, I'm not looking to tow a 40-foot camper. It could be done, but so anyway, when he asked, I said, yeah, it's here, so get it out of here, and he did. So that's it. And I did talk to Daniel about this as well.
Thank you.
Anything else, guys? Thank you all.
Okay, I saved myself for last because it's going to be long-winded. There was an article in the paper that was put in by our attorney in reference to Reflection Bay. The day or two after, we had hundreds of phone calls, people coming to the office. How come this deal got done without us knowing about it? There is no deal. This was only a letter from the attorney where their attorney and our attorney are trying to put something together. And thankfully, few people from the executive board came and spoke to us and said, what's the story? There is no deal, okay? Secondly, I can honestly tell you that 100% of the vice presidents, UCO officers, and David himself were on a Zoom call with the attorney and told him, this is not a deal that we want. So you can hear it right from the top. When a deal is put in writing, the officers will look at it, you will look at it, and the final say will be the delegate assembly, regardless of what people are saying. That if I heard it yesterday and the day before, if the officers make a deal, it's a done deal. It is not a done deal. It'll be up to this board to move it forward, approve it, and to push it to the delegates and have them approve it if they wish to do. So if you hear anything that's contrary to that, if you can't answer them or make the people happy, send them to the UCO office and tell them to talk to one of the officers or one of the vice presidents. Okay, understood, terrific. I was informed yesterday that there will be a pill drop during the month of May. Okay, whatever day delegate assembly is. It's going to be added to paper because I told John not to do it before June so we could put it in the paper, but he did it for May. So it's added April paper.
It's not in the April paper, but you can put it in the May paper.
Yeah, but we usually like to give it a month's advance notice, okay?
The paper comes out at the end of April.
I understand. I told him to get a hold of Ken Graff and put a flyer together so that we can put it in the paper. But just so that you're aware, my understanding is from what he told me, they will be here from 9 till 2. Those are the hours that they've allocated to that. As far as populating the committees, one of the responsibilities of executive board members is to be on at least 1 or 2 committees. There are some new people that got on the committee, and the first thing they did is they signed up to volunteer to be on one of the standing committees. Now, I notice some committees are not meeting, but if you can't make 2, make at least 1. Come to the office, fill in a form, and whatever committee you want to be on, this is the time that the committee chairs are populating the committees. Our treasurer has gone out with the finance committee. I'm sure he's looking for qualified people also. He has a few people to start with. If you have any background in business or finance and you would like to help Mr. Grossman, contact him. Give him your resume. Anybody have any questions about that? Yes, Ed?
I'd like to... Can you hear me? I'd like to question whether or not UCO has retained an attorney and/or, in addition, an engineer in regard to the negotiations with the new people for the golf course.
And the answer to both your questions is yes. I'll answer both of them now. The attorney who has been retained to negotiate on our behalf, UCO, is Rod Tennyson. The engineering firm who has been retained to do the drainage study on the property, theirs and ours, is Simmons and White. And you can see their contract in Z Drive, and I believe the officers voted on that one, actually.
I'd like to respond to that, Donald. According to our bylaws, it very clearly says before retaining either of those two gentlemen, it would have to be approved by the delegate assembly.
Okay.
I'd also like to comment that when this came up before, and it's been hanging for years, if I'm not mistaken, there was an almost unanimous vote by the delegate assembly not to negotiate, to allow any deal with the golf course.
I remember that, and I was there.
I put that in the last paper, that if anything was to move forward, even a meeting, it should have been asked of the delegate assembly before. So as far as I'm concerned, unless you could find something different in the bylaws, the retention of these two professionals is an ultra-virus act.
I believe I voted for it.
And nobody that I know of at the delegate assembly at one time knew whether or not negotiations were going on. And to my knowledge, I could have missed it, there was no vote at the delegate assembly in regard to retaining either of these two professions. Now, while the officers said they didn't approve it, that is post facto and really null and void. So this whole deal should stop until it's brought to the delegate assembly and it's in black and white in our bylaws.
All right, as far as the engineer, which I was kind of involved with, and if we're gonna check back on the last two officers committee meetings, you may have attended the meeting and you may have actually voted, because I believe it was a unanimous vote to retain
The officers are not the only ones that are supposed to vote on it.
Gotcha, but I'm curious to know if you voted on it.
Excuse me, Donald, it has to go to the delegate assembly first.
Okay.
And it hasn't. And I think that any payments that have been made should be returned, and I think the whole thing should be brought to the delegate assembly before it goes any further. Otherwise, those contracts are voidable.
Well, my understanding that we were asked by our attorney to get an engineer to review what needs to be done, because the developer had hired an engineer to see what needed to be done, and the county wanted their engineer to check it out. So we needed to follow our attorney's advice to hire an engineer so that the three engineers could get together and tell us what we need to fix the South Canal.
I understand what you're saying, but we're talking about what was precipitated by the new owners or developer of the golf course. And it's black letter law that the officers could do what they want, but that had to be brought and approved by the delegate assembly. And I'm sure Rod Tennyson knows our bylaws, and he knows them. Let him disprove what I just said, that before anything went forward, it had to be approved by the delegate assembly. So I take great exception, especially that for 10 or 12 years, the people here and the people before had turned down at 1,500 postcards about doing anything with the former golf course. And this flies in the face of
Sorry, Ed, I'm not gonna go tit for tat with you. All I could tell you is that on behalf of UCO and the unit owners of Century Village, we needed to hire an engineer regardless to find out what shape the South Canal is at and at what point, how much money do we need to spend. forgetting what's going on with the development. We needed to do it.
Don,
That's it.
Listen, let's not play tit for tat. You hire an engineer, that's fine, but that engineer was hired, the officers opted to have a meeting, and that meeting should have been published.
Okay.
And before anything else.
Okay, all right.
Anything-
Bobby, I'm sorry,
I'd
go
like to
ahead.
get back to the president's report.
Yes.
You were talking about committee assignments.
Right, right.
I would like to know, do you want people who are continuing on committees
Yes.
to re-sign
Absolutely.
everybody's?
Because we have committees that people just arbitrarily feel that they're on there, and we have some new committee chairs that would like to populate their own committees with people that they think can have positive input on the committee, and also some of the people that are been on the committee for a while are stagnant. We need some new ideas, and that's my feeling. I mean, everybody may not agree with me,
As long
but
as
that's my
everybody
feeling.
understands they
Yes.
have to continue. I'd also like to ask, has anything been done about the shredding?
That was my next thing to discuss. Bob Rivera took over the shredding projects, had 19 people that he called. He sent out a whole bunch of emails that he wanted something in writing. I have received nothing. So I am going to get in touch with PBSO. I'm going to contact the person that PBSO recommended and try to put something in place probably towards the end of the summer, so that we have time. Again, somebody took, I was willing to, it would have been done already, but it wasn't. Good of the order. Anybody? Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, Bobby.
I'd like to report to everybody on what happened with the sign-up for the Transportation Committee trip to Roth Farms. The information that went out in the UCO report was explicit, that we would have a sign-up at a specific time, a specific date, and a certain number of people would be accepted. I got to the clubhouse at 9:20 for a 9:30 sign-up. There were 82 people in line. We had no early sign-up. The first two names on the list were mine and the person that I was signing up. Everybody understood except one woman who was a little, is the word obnoxious. Anyway, we did take 45 reservations and I took 8 standbys. I did not take money for the people who were on standby. I said if somebody called and canceled, I would call the standby person and accept the money at that time. Everybody seemed to understand. I'm going to ask the Transportation Committee to include in their article in the newsletter, in the reporter, that excursion trips are not the only thing that the Transportation Committee does. This is not the Transportation Committee's main purpose. You may want trips. This is just something if one comes up, and if it's in the budget, we do. But people have to understand that the Transportation Committee has a very important responsibility. Hiring a bus company and taking care of bus routes. And just because you want to go on a trip doesn't mean it's going to happen. That's all I have to say.
Bobby, I was speaking to Eva in the hallway, as you know, and I said there were people, and they certainly are entitled to come as early as they want. Donald's wife was actually first. I think she was smart to do that. I don't know, you have to ask your wife.
She is number 3.
But the thing is this, people were complaining, and I said to this woman who you're talking about, and other people, if you wanted to go that badly, you should have came early. but I came at 9:30. I said, well, most people who know about the excursion buses will come very early to sign up. You were explicit. The only thing I might suggest for the future is, I know I did it also, is maybe not to take someone else's ID card and do it for them. That was a big complaint. I know some people couldn't be there, but that's the only thing I wanted to tell you.
As long as the person had a valid ID, they could sign them, and they were in a resident of the village, and one, we should only allow a person to sign up their spouse. Well, I'm sorry, people don't have spouses. I think our sign-up procedures are very fair. And no matter how early you want to get there, we're going to start at a specific time. If the Transportation Committee wants to approve sending 2 buses, you know, buses cost us almost $900 a shot.
I will not.
That's it. So I think we're being very fair, and I think most people understand.
Okay, before we go forward, I did neglect a part of my president's report, is to say thank you to you and your committee, Bobby, for the installation of the new officers and for the recognition luncheon that was relatively well attended, but your committee did an excellent job. Now, go ahead,
Yes,
Carolyn.
the committee worked very well together.
Are we still having the mic? I meant to ask you this, but-
Take the mic.
All right. We're still observing COVID restrictions on numbers on the bus, correct?
It isn't COVID restriction, it's the number of people that can fit on the bus, physically.
Okay, because for some reason I thought we had reduced it from like 65 capacity to 45. Has that been?
No. The number of people on the bus are limited depending on.
By the vendor, wasn't it the vendor that said only so many people?
Right.
That's what I was told.
And if we have to allow for a wheelchair, so it's 45 people.
Okay, which does seem kind of limited for a population the size of ours. And this is no reflection on Bobby, of course.
Well, it can be done another time. If the vendor says I can only take 45 people, you can't take 900.
No, of course. But what I'm just wondering, like Schedule 2, and maybe a nominal charge?
It is up to the vendor. If the vendor, the farm that they're going, says I can only take so many people, then the committee can.
No, excuse me.
Yeah.
Everyone stop. I'm chair of the committee. The reason I will never allow 2 buses is that everyone wants to go somewhere. Bobby's been doing an excellent job of finding places to go. If we provide 2 buses every time you go, the rest of the year you'll have nothing to do. They only get so much money to spend.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons also. So whether the vendor says yes or no, it's up to the chair and the committee, who's doing a great job, to decide. You know, if I say, oh, let's do 2 buses now, and then 2 buses on the next, and then what do we do the rest of the year? Isn't that correct, Bobby?
Yeah, and another thing, taking 2 buses, 90 people, is a big responsibility
That's
for
correct.
the person
That's correct.
running the trip.
You're
I
right.
don't want to corral 90 people.
You're right.
The bus goes 45 people. If you want to go, you
Guys,
go.
I'm just going to interrupt here for a minute. All of this discussion and all of these decisions were made in a transportation committee meeting. So to rehash all of this by people who weren't on the committee and weren't involved in the decision is probably double work and a waste of time. I can tell you, having sat through these meetings, that these decisions were made very thoughtfully, and both the subcommittee that took care of it and the actual committee that oversaw it. So I'm going to say probably we should just move on from this, okay?
So come to the meeting next to the first Tuesday of the month.
Peter, you had your hand up?
Excuse me,
Well, I was just gonna say what the other young lady said.
Mr. Chair.
No, someone's
He
talking.
had his hand up.
So,
Go ahead, Peter.
I was just gonna repeat what the young lady said about offsetting the cost of the trip, maybe if you have a
Peter,
nominal
yeah, we're
cost.
not gonna discuss bus trips anymore.
Okay.
Go to the Transportation Committee meeting first Tuesday of the month, where it belongs. Okay,
That's the
Ed.
end of that.
This has the financial side. I attended a few of the Transportation Committee, and I just, excuse me.
I'm trying to get your order, so you can speak.
Oh, no, I'm not.
I wasn't.
That-
Go ahead.
You
I'll
did
just
a good
talk.
job.
Speak already.
I have a question, two questions. One, how many newer buses have been supplied since the contract?
None.
None.
Excuse me?
Several buses have been replaced.
How much is several?
Did you read that part that I yellow line that said they will do their best to give us the updated buses? It doesn't say there, we're definitely getting new buses. It doesn't say, you better read the contract because
I know that
And I'm
contract,
good with
letter
legal.
for letter. It doesn't say they guarantee. They say that they will supply newer buses.
Okay.
I asked, several is not an answer. An answer.
I know of at least two, and I know of at least one that's had a powertrain replacement
Okay.
that I'm
So
aware
out
of.
of
Come to the transportation meeting on Tuesday, Ed, and you will be able to ask the company themselves. You can ask them directly.
One other question, which is also financial, is there was a great deal of talk about putting scanners in the bus so that they could have reroute and
Right.
has the scanners gone in?
Okay, no, they did the research, it's astronomical, they do not want to pay for that, and we're certainly not going to pay for it.
Well-
But, in place of that, they have been using their clickers. I have gotten, ladies, please, I have gotten reports that shows the amount of riders. So you're getting, a lot of people are getting what they wanted to know, how many riders are riding, and we have that. Now, just because a bus is picking up less people than before doesn't mean we're gonna cancel that bus. I spoke to a woman, I ride the buses. I spoke to a woman that goes to work on the buses, that lives here and goes to work. So, you have any other questions, please come to the transportation meeting.
I will. I'd like to know why Mr. Israel, who's been around a long time, said that we had scanners in the buses and that it's a very small charge.
And I'm gonna kind of make a ruling here, but you don't have to listen to me. What you're talking about right now is not strictly speaking good of the order. This is an agenda item, and this is not on our agenda, but it was and will be on the agenda of the Transportation Committee meeting. So unless you have a motion to make, really this doesn't belong, it's out of order. It kind of doesn't belong in this meeting.
Well, we have a chair here. This is a body that's responsible.
No.
And,
So make a motion.
yeah, I make a motion that we get a report as to how many new buses, newer, have been replaced. And the second motion is,
No, let's do it first.
One motion, do we have a second on the first motion? Do we have a second on the first motion? Do I have a second on the first motion? Motion dies. Go ahead, what's your second motion, Ed?
my second motion is ditto to the first motion.
Just making it again.
It's an economic question.
What's the motion?
The motion is to get a report on how many new buses were supplied. If you turn it down and no one wants it, all I could tell you is you're not doing your job.
Any second on Ed's repeat motion?
Yeah, is there a second on that motion? Is there a second on that motion? Okay, the motion dies, but go ahead.
Come to the transportation meeting on Tuesday, the gentleman from the buses will be there, and any questions you'd like to ask without attacking them
I
will be
don't-
accepted,
Will you-
accepted.
Who is the gentleman in coming? Is it Omar?
Please put it in writing, and I will put it on the agenda personally.
Okay, is it Omar that's coming?
Omar, Mario, and the supervisor here. So if you put it in writing, I promise in front of the witnesses, I will put it on the agenda. We have to end it now. You go,
Good, I
okay?
will send you an email.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Maureen?
What time is that meeting, please?
1:30.
Thank you.
1:30, the first Tuesday of the month. And the room is limited to 25 people. We're not going to have more than 25 people crammed in there. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
I got a question, not by transportation.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm a PBO, I help do the security.
I saw you in the car.
Yeah, and over in Plymouth, they're doing a lot of work.
Yeah.
And the people over there are so frustrated about people parking, all the contractors and all that, and they stop me and they says, well, we got all these people, and look, this people is parking in the wrong place. I said, look, you have to go to your president, you guys should have towing. And if they're not in the right place, it's not called Donna. Donna is the person to get in touch with, and if these I didn't know who to call, so I told them I threw you under the bus. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Since we're talking about buses, you might as well throw me under one. Flora, there is quite a bit of both unit restoration work and also association work in Plymouth, and Plymouth is a pretty tight squeeze.
It is.
So there's a lot going on there. I can tell you that the property managers there are all Seacrest. They're on top of all this. They're doing the best they can over there. But your response to whoever flagged you down is exactly right. You go to your boards, go to your associations, and they do all have towing contracts. So it's, I just had a similar situation over at Greenbrier. Now, Greenbrier is a kind of tight little spot, and Greenbrier C is finishing their concrete restoration, and now they're doing pressure cleaning and painting. So everybody's from there is moving their cars away. So that causes problems with people using the pool, the other two buildings. We're just doing the best we can, and the good news is all this work's getting done, which is good for everybody. Okay?
Okay, 10:55. I'll entertain a motion. Thank you. Did you want to say something, Jerry?
Yeah, I do. I know that Mr. Grossman invited everybody to my Passover Seder, which will be in Orlando. You're welcome to come. However...
Thank you, Jerry.
No, 1 minute. However, there are people here celebrating an Easter holiday, and I want to wish those people who celebrate the Easter holiday a happy Easter.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you, Jerry. Thanks, everyone.
Meeting is adjourned.
He's posing.
I'm here. So how are they going to do this later? Where's she going to be?
Oh, that's enough.